Morning and welcome back to the Livingston Parish News Morning Show. My name is McHugh David, publisher and editor of the news. Appreciate you guys joining us this morning. If you're watching us on Facebook, thank you for that. Please remember, Facebook does keep these shows on our Facebook page. You can always go back and watch them. We also upload them to www.livingstonparishnews.com/podcast. You can check them out there as well. We appreciate it if you are as well. Happy October to you folks. First day of October. We are into the fourth quarter of this very strange year. And hoping for an easy slide, although with the way the election's going, maybe not, but an easy slide into 2021. I know a lot of people are looking forward to getting out of this year. But first, our daily routine. Let's talk about our traffic real quick. It does look like there's either an accident or a stalled vehicle on I-12 westbound just before Sherwood, so in between Sherwood and Millerville. Please keep that in mind. It is causing heavy delays backed up past O'Neill at this point. Minor on-ramp delays this morning, so keep that in mind. Those will only get worse as crews deal with either that stalled vehicle or accident. 4H Club Road, River Road, and 190 still clear as of this time, so that may be your best bet getting into Baton Rouge. 64 heading into Central also clear with some heavier delays on Greenville Springs. Looking at heavy delays in and around those schools, especially the larger high schools. Live Oak High, tons of traffic on Highway 16 up there. Please keep that in mind. Also looking at some heavier traffic on 190 and Burgess Avenue around Walker High and Highway 16. Pretty packed in front of Denham Springs High. It's currently 55 degrees. 85 degrees is your high today, so it's going to get pretty warm just like it did yesterday. But going to drop right back out to 55 degrees overnight. It's going to be a sunny day. It looks like it's already peeking out over the trees. But another cold front is going to come through today. Probably going to have some wind this afternoon. It's going to get close to the 40s for a couple of evenings. It's going to get down to 51, 52. Might even drop below 40 in some areas with some high wind chills. So keep that in mind. We've said it before. It is, at least at night, it's gotten into that gumbo weather kind of time. So please try to enjoy yourself. Speaking of that fall time, football is here. Starts tonight, Thursday. Because of COVID-19, there is a shortage of referees this year. So a lot of these football Friday nights are going to be split between Thursday and Friday to make sure that they have enough referees per game. We do have our football preview in our print section this week. Of course, that comes out on Thursday at $7 a month to get it in your mailbox. And those football stories will be rolling out slowly but steadily on our website at www.livingstonparishnews.com/sports throughout the day. So please go check that out. Mr. Rob DeArmond, our sports editor, put a lot of work into it. But again, football regular season starts tonight. So congratulations to those young men. They will be starting their season. The Commission for Presidential Debate made an announcement yesterday that they are going to be looking for a different kind of format for the next two presidential debates. They were displeased with sort of the free-for-all that occurred on Tuesday night, and they have announced that they will be looking towards a new format. Of course, in the world of Zoom, a lot of people said, well, maybe you should just be able to mute one of their mics when it's their turn, when their turn is up. It'll be interesting to see how they handle the next two and what sort of ideas they come out with to make those flow a little bit better. Muting a mic may be an option, so we'll find out. They did not give a whole lot of specifics in their announcement, just said that they're looking into it. They want to change the experience a little bit for the next two debates. Of course, there are 3 total before election season. Speaking of election season, look for the Livingston Parish News a week from now. We'll also be running concurrently on our website a lot of announcements for these political candidates. We're about 3 weeks away from early voting, roughly a month away from the actual election day on November 3rd. So keep that in mind. Be on the lookout for the Livingston Parish News. Lots of candidates with lots of announcements coming out. A 10-year-old sought out a gentleman who had helped her, I guess you can say, in a time of crisis and wanted to say thank you. Miss Chelsea Hammer found Deputy Phil Lint just last Friday, and she and her family got to visit with he and his wife because of something that he had done almost 4 years ago to the day. After a bus crash, which you might remember occurred, Miss Chelsea Hammer was on board. She was 6 at the time. And after sitting in a hospital waiting room, kind of trying to find out what was going on with her, what was happening with her friends, Sheriff's Deputy Phil Lent kind of plopped down next to her and had a casual conversation and kind of eased her through the whole process. So she wanted to say thank you to him for that. You can read all about their interaction and then their visit at www.livingstonparishnews.com. Mr. David Gray did a good job of tracking them both down and talking to them about it. North Corbin Junior High raised $3,000 for Angel vests. Of course, those are about $1,000 a piece. They are bulletproof vests, which are designed a little better. They handle bullets a lot better. They will be going to a few sheriff's deputies. That was spearheaded by Madison Vilgamore, a 4-H club junior leader. She organized a bake sale, and they raised about $3,000. So thank you, Miss Vilgamore. I'm sure those deputies will appreciate those vests. An interesting study that came out recently discussing NASA. One of the things that's been very interesting, of course, this year, as a lot of people watched over the summer, the SpaceX, which is an Elon Musk property, finally launched their first shuttle that docked with the International Space Station and returned. Of course, there were problems throughout the way. They expected that, and they'll try to correct those. But NASA has kind of taken a back seat to a lot of that. Of course, they were there to support SpaceX and their mission. However, a lot of people may not know that they are still a huge economic driver throughout the world. NASA generated roughly $634 billion in economic output just last year. One of the things that they discussed was that was very much based around a lot of sub-industries. Things like space shuttles, repairs that need to be made to the space station, a lot of these parts. There are a lot of different industries that participate with NASA. They employ a lot of people, and of course, they're spread throughout the world. So they generated a lot of money, especially last year, with things sort of ramping up, trying to get into a new age of space exploration. So again, NASA, who had kind of fallen to the wayside for a while, generated $634 billion in economic output just last year. Looking at your COVID-19 statistics, first for the state, 166,033 total cases, 5,321 deaths, 2,317,179 tests. 154,163 have recovered, 553 hospitalized on 79 ventilators. There have been in Livingston Parish 3,810 tests, 3,810 cases, 76 deaths on 40,563 tests. Again, in Livingston Parish, 3,810 tests, 76 deaths on 40,563 tests. Before we get into kind of a little bit of back and forth about the governor's emergency declaration, Louisiana officials are trying to buy some time to see what kind of vehicles can come out financially from the federal government, or to see if things might bounce back a little bit and might be able to generate revenue in a different way during the legislative session. What are we talking about? We're talking about increased business taxes for unemployment. One of the things that we do know about the unemployment fund is once it drops below $100 million, legislatively or by Louisiana law, 30% increase kicks in on businesses' quarterly contribution to the unemployment tax. That is spread throughout the state to all private businesses and public businesses for that matter. So all businesses that pay unemployment tax. The Louisiana legislature is trying to avoid that. They're looking to the feds for funding, or again, trying to find ways within the special legislative session that kicked off Monday to avoid having to do that. Of course, a lot of people think that's sort of counterintuitive because the whole economy is suffering. When you hit those employers with an extra tax, there is a fear that they will let more people go to try to mitigate those costs, or furlough or reduce wages, whatever they have to do. It's going to be interesting to see how the legislature tries to handle that. Of course, there is a stimulus bill. There's some hope for this one. It's going to be the last push by Treasury Secretary Steve Mnuchin. And it seems to be that's sort of an agreement between Congress and Senate as well. It's going to be the last push for any kind of stimulus bills. So going to keep your eyes on Washington, D.C. to see what happens there. Keep your eye on the legislature to see if they can come up with some other revenue sources for that unemployment tax. Now, we talked about it back and forth. It's very interesting what's going on here. We do know that there have been several versions of the same petition to end the governor's emergency declaration for COVID-19. Those have never garnered the majority that they needed in the House to be pushed forward to end it at the governor's level. Now, with this special legislative session starting, you have sort of two bills sort of going back and forth. One is in the House, sponsored by or sort of pushed by House Speaker Clay Schexnayder, who of course represents a large portion of Southern Livingston Parish. He is pushing to temporarily suspend the governor's ability to extend COVID-19 mitigation efforts. That includes closed bars, mask mandates, that kind of thing. The idea would be he would eventually get those powers back, but they would like to see what it would be like without any restrictions. If there is a spike, then the temporary mitigation efforts or the temporary suspension of his ability to declare or extend an emergency for COVID-19 would be reinstated, and we'd probably go right back to where we were. On the Senate side, it's a little different. They're just looking to push some legislation to get a seat at the table for when the governor makes these decisions on extending COVID-19 mitigation efforts. A lot of the legislators have said that in the past they've had no input on the decision and have received it not long before the public did, maybe even just a few hours. So it's going to be interesting to see at where these two bills go. Where these two bills go. Of course, they're going to have to cross paths at some point because both houses have to pass these things before they head to the governor. Now, of course, they are not. These are not. I guess you can say petitions. These are bills that are trying to pass through the regular legislative process. So it's going to be interesting to see what they do with this special session. But of course, we are in phase 3 at the moment with things like bars still being closed and mask mandates still in place. So it's going to be interesting to see where things go from here. The big focus right now is getting bars reopened. So again, those bars are closed because of the data that the Louisiana Department of Health got from contact tracing suggested that most people, when we had that spike, especially in late July and early August, had picked it up at a bar. So it's going to be interesting to see where things go legislatively, but a lot of back and forth up there at the Capitol over the next few weeks. Getting back into your traffic real quick, there is an accident or stalled vehicle in between Sherwood and Millerville on I-12 westbound. Please keep that in mind. It's caused some not major delays, but very heavy delays all the way back to O'Neill. There is some minor on-ramp delays in Livingston Parish, especially at 447 in Range. Please expect those to get worse as they try to deal with those stalled vehicles or accidents. 4H Club Road, River Road, N190 starting to get some heavier delays there as folks are dealing with the I-12 traffic. 64 still clear heading into Central. However, some minor delays on Greenville Springs Road. Of course, school delays this morning. Live Oak High School up there on 16, as well as Denham Springs High School on 16. Heavier delays in front of both of those schools. Big delays on Burgess Avenue and 190. So a lot of kids trying to get to Walker High. Keep that in mind. It's currently 55 degrees. 85 degrees is your high today. 55, again, your overnight low. Looking at a cold front to come back through either later this afternoon or this evening. Expect some chilly wind as that comes through. Then we might get some temperatures near the 40s at night, but going to stay in and around 80 to 85 during the day. One last time, my name is McHugh David, publisher and editor of the news. Appreciate you guys joining us this morning for the Livingston Parish News Morning Show. Want to remind folks that we are on Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, Instagram, and YouTube. We are once a week in print on Thursdays at $7 a month to get that in your mailbox. We're also online, www.livingstonparishnews.com. We have a podcast page, which is free, a coronavirus page, which is free. We also have a breaking news page, which has state, federal, arrest, and accident news, which is free as well. Want to remind folks that we do have a football preview section. It is in this Thursday's edition of the Livingston Parish News. It's also going to run online today on our sports section at www.livingstonparishnews.com/sports. Those will run out in about 30-minute increments, so that if you're ready for it this evening, you can go check it out then. Please give a shout out to Mr. Rob DeArmond, our sports editor. He put a lot of work into it, a lot of good content as we move into the football season. It is a beautiful day. It's going to be a beautiful evening, the next 2 evenings, for the kickoff of the regular season of high school football in Louisiana. So good luck to those teams tonight and tomorrow night, and we hope you all have a great day, and we will see you tomorrow morning.